Cool. So let's look into this setup plugin. I'm actually going to move it over to this screen. Um, you know what? I'm actually going to select all, copy it, and put it into some random text editor. Um, Alright, so I'm using Atom in order to have syntax highlighting for the Lua language. So then I can see really what's going on, and if I make a mistake, like if I accidentally delete something I shouldn't have, the whole thing kind of shows something's messed up. But from here you can see all the settings that you can change. It's the comments already have like a lot of information on like what you're supposed to put into each area. But I'll kind of walk you through the things that you have to change. So um, if you want Maker just to work straight out of the bat, I would just keep everything default, and then that sequence I was telling you to make earlier, just make sure that that's called service content. And then if you've kind of seen through the other tutorial videos, there's some numbers that I kept through this macro um, uh, 209, macro 257, macro 1121, and then sequence 1120. So all these numbers, and I'll let you pause the video just so you can copy them down. But they all correlate to these numbers. So I'll go here by one. You can see in this little section, I'm telling Maker Plus I have some sequences that are labeled as songs. They're going to be put in sequence 257. So that's where I want all my like database of songs to start at 257, and then for those Maker macros. So let me go back here. So the sequences are going to start at 257. So look at 257 and anything above at a continuous point. And then the macros, they're going to be at 257, and then adder is going to be at 1121. So let's go back in here. 1121 right here, and that's for the adder stuff. And you can easily change the numbers. You can literally type anything you want. You know, I want my macros for adder to start at 100 instead of 1000 whatever. You can change that. So there's also, so we talked about, at least with that that asset sequence with the walk-in, the video, the message, all those cues. What is the name of that sequence? You put that right here. So if I wanted to call it literally anything else, like I've done it before where I do JHM, I don't know, Maker, and then because multiple, with this setup plugin, you can add even more users. So say you have different programmers or different ministries that don't want to have the same style lighting, you can have multiple pools where they can only see that pool. I've used Maker in the show file where it's one show file, and then there's like 3 different Maker pools for sequences. So JHM has a different sequence pool, and HSM has a different sequence pool. College Group has a sequence pool. So that's why you can change it through here, or if you just want to change it to whatever makes sense for you. Then there's this parameter called pool size that is set to 16. That's if you don't want Maker on your second screen. If you want it on your external screen, that could be any size. If you saw earlier how I have this blank row right here, so it looks nicer and cleaner, I only can do that if I know how many columns are in, how many columns I'm using for the views of Maker. So if you count out all of these little squares, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. It's 16 columns, and Maker just knows don't use the very left column, just to keep everything nice and neat. So yeah, that's pool size. Then I have my archive sequence. That's where I put all my services. So if I go back and I click on this, if you notice on here, I said use sequence 1121. And if I go back here, the very first one is on 1121, and then it just finds the next available sequence after that. So that's what this parameter is for. This one is for the walk-in. When you hit the walk-in button, if you've seen in the previous tutorials, when I hit walk-in, it makes a new sequence. If I don't call for, if I don't call my first cue walk-in, if I call it something else in my cues, you can type it in here. I think you can even put, yeah, you can put the cue number. So if you wanted to just say cue number 1 is always going to be in that service content sequence. It's always going to be my first cue when I make new archived sequences. I would change that here. Whenever I push the walk-in cue, if you remember in the past tutorials, I said it automatically figures out based off of today's date. It figures out when Sunday is going to be. You could even change it to say I have a service on Wednesday, but I'll leave it back to Sunday. And it will figure that Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. It will figure out whatever day you're on, when's that future day. And then I have this really cool section right here. We could probably talk about it a little later, but just make a group that's called all, and just put all of your fixtures in the group that's called all. Just put it all in there that you want Maker to be able to program. There's this weird thing with tracking. You're probably already knowing where I'm going with that, but you know, we could talk about that later, or you can discover that later. But yeah, that's an overview of all the parameters and kind of what they do. After I have all that set up, I would select all of it, copy all of it, and then I'd go over to Grandma, and then I would go over here to the setup plugin, select all. Oops. I would select all, and then I would paste it all onto here, and then exit it. After you make any changes with that particular plugin with setup, I would click on it, and it should reload the whole system, rechange all those parameters into the right ones. But after you do that, then you're ready to actually start, I guess, putting in stuff. So the reason I went to here is because I just wanted to let you know, if you wanted to change where you want to put all your songs in your sequence pool, you can put it on here. If you wanted to change where your maker macros go, you can change it with this number. And then if you wanted to change any where you want to start putting your adder macros, you can change it right here. And then even with your archive stuff, say if you're already in an existing show file and you don't want to move everything around, you just want the next available space in like 2000, 3000 or whatever, you can just change those numbers right here. So the next thing that you're going to do is, keeping those numbers in mind, you're going to make these views for Maker. So you're going to have this top row for macros as like you've seen in the past tutorial videos, as one side's going to be for all the asset cues, walk in, video, message, walk out, whatever, all of those, and then on the other side it's going to have all of your like tasks that you can do with Maker. So building cue, or yeah, making new songs, copying new songs, renaming songs, whatever you have. So there's going to be that section of plugins, and then on the bottom section you're going to have, where do you want your Maker macros to go, where do you want your adder macros to go, where do you want your sequences to go. You know, I've been using this like kind of view. Oh yeah, I've been using this view for a while and I find it really effective, but if you want to change it, it's totally up to you. If you want to use external screens where it's a lot bigger, go ahead. And then you can change that column size to, you know, fit even more songs onto one view. But yeah, without further ado, I'm gonna keep in mind that I want to put my those asset queues and all the task stuff, that whole section. I want to put that starting at 209 on my macro pool. So I'm gonna go over, clear my screen, hit plugins, go over to pools with macros. So I want to click on my startup plugin. And then it's going to ask me what's the starting macro. I'm going to say 209, and then it just made a bunch of macros for me. So if I go back to this maker view, boom, it's all there. If I made my views already, it's all, you can kind of see like it's already starting. And then after that, I can hit repair, the repair task, and then I'll hit OK, and then I'll hit OK. If I already have songs already made, but I just don't have the maker and adder stuff, then it will automatically use that number from this setup plugin. It will reference that and find. It will just make maker and adder macros based off the continuous block of or the continuous list of songs off of there. So that's installing it. And then usually after this, when I install it, I always make it a little more pretty. If you remember in the tutorial videos, I had it like all color-coded and all nice and stuff. But the first thing I'm going to do is just change this to walk-in instead of archive. And then I think I like went into here. This is a neat little trick if you have like if you have queues that usually are married to each other. Like I have communion set up, and then right after that is always the communion video. So I just copied. I'll copy the first line of here onto just Control C, and then I'll make a new line. I'll make it wait a second, or I think it's 100 milliseconds. I'll paste the communion thing onto the next line, and then I'll call this plugin again. This just makes it so that I'm able to insert a queue with maker once, and then after like 100 milliseconds, then it just installs another queue. So I can totally delete this one and then move this over. I also like going into these, and I'll change some of these like abstract names into something I can actually conceptualize. So I know build is going to be for making a new song. So once I relabel all of these macros that do tasks, I can even just move it around. So I'm just gonna go ahead and I want to move new song to something a little more familiar, a little more accessible or obvious. I'll move this one over. Now that I moved over all of my songs, I can even just delete stuff that I don't think I need. So some people might not even like the renumber plugin, or they might even see the need for it because there's another way of doing it. So they might just delete it. That's okay. Everything's still gonna work. And then if you just wanted to change the appearance of all this, you know, just hit assign, assign, assign. It will give you the appearance keyword. And then I can change this to, you know, any color just to make it a little more obvious. You know, right there. So I can do that for the rest of the tasks. Yeah, so that's how you install all these plugins into your pre-existing show file. It works exactly the same for a new show file. You can see it's really easy just to install stuff. If you have any questions, just contact me through my GitHub. But yeah, I hope it all works out for you.